New York City was always alive, even at midnight. Yellow taxis darted between crowded lanes. Skyscraper windows glowed like stars against the black sky, and the never-ending chatter of life echoed down every street. For Charlotte Miller, the city was both a dream and a maze she was still learning to navigate. She had moved from Denver 2 years ago, chasing her passion for writing, working at a small publishing house by day and scribbling her own stories by night. Life was simple, steady, maybe even predictable, until she met Daniel Carter. They first crossed paths on a rainy evening when Charlotte ducked into a small coffee shop to escape the storm. Daniel was there, sitting near the window with a book in his hand, his dark hair damp from the rain and a half-smile playing on his lips. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and somehow it felt like they already knew each other. He struck up a conversation about the book she carried, and soon what began as small talk turned into hours of laughter, confessions, and the strange comfort of feeling seen by someone new. Over the next weeks, Daniel became a constant presence in Charlotte's life. He worked as a financial consultant, or so he said, and his schedule was oddly flexible, allowing him to appear just when she needed him most. When she was late leaving work, Daniel showed up to walk her home. When her deadlines piled up and she forgot to eat, he appeared with takeout and an easy grin. He seemed to know when to be there, and his charm made it hard for Charlotte to question the coincidences. But as time passed, little cracks began to appear in the perfect image he painted. His phone would ring, and he'd quickly silence it, never explaining who was calling. He avoided questions about his family, brushing them off with vague answers. And once, when Charlotte mentioned visiting his office, his smile faltered before he changed the subject. Charlotte tried to convince herself it was nothing, that everyone had their private corners, but the unease in her chest grew heavier with each unanswered question. Then came the night she returned home to find her apartment door slightly open. Panic gripped her as she stepped inside, heart racing, but nothing seemed stolen. Instead, she found a single piece of paper on her kitchen table. 3 words were scrawled across it. "He is lying." Her pulse thundered in her ears as she stared at the note. Who had been inside her apartment? Who was lying? That evening, when Daniel called to check in, she didn't mention the note. She studied his voice instead, listening for cracks, but his usual warmth and charm made it impossible to tell. Still, from that moment on, every smile of his felt like it carried shadows. Days later, Charlotte decided she needed answers. She searched his name online, scrolling through every corner of the internet. But aside from a few generic mentions, Daniel Carter seemed like a ghost. No social media presence, no photos, no trace of the life he described. The more she searched, the colder her stomach felt. Who was he really? The truth began to unravel one night when Charlotte was walking home from work. The street was unusually quiet, and the chill of winter pressed against her skin. She sensed someone following her, footsteps steady behind her. She turned quickly, only to find Daniel stepping out of the shadows. Relief should have washed over her, but it didn't. "You scared me," she whispered. His smile appeared, the same smile that had once disarmed her. But now it felt different, forced, almost like a mask. "I just wanted to make sure you got home safe," he said softly. But why hadn't he called out her name instead of silently trailing her? That night she barely slept. The note, the missing pieces of his life, his too perfect timing. Everything swirled together into a knot of fear and doubt. Still, part of her clung to him, to the way his laugh made her heart lighter, to the way he listened to her dreams as though they mattered. She was caught between the comfort of love and the terror of lies. The breaking point came when Charlotte discovered another envelope left at her door. Inside was a photograph of her and Daniel sitting at the cafe weeks ago, taken by someone else. At the bottom of the picture, in the same handwriting as before, were the words, "You don't know him." Shaking, she confronted Daniel the next day. They met in Central Park, the winter air crisp, bare trees stretching above them. She shoved the photo into his hands. "Tell me the truth. Who are you, really?" For the first time, his smile faded completely. His jaw tightened, and his eyes, usually warm and steady, were filled with something darker: regret, fear, maybe both. "I didn't want it to be like this," he said quietly. "Charlotte, you deserve honesty, but the truth isn't simple." "Then make it simple," she demanded, her voice breaking. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "The life I told you about, the office, the job, it's not real. Ike,